Hello and welcome to Module 1, Lecture 5. I'm Amandeep Saikia, clinical psychologist, and I'm working as a student's counselor at IIT Kanpur. So today's lecture is on the importance of self-care and self-compassion. So in this fast-paced world, young people experience a lot of challenges, starting from academic pressures, social influences like social media influences, and also personal struggles. So because of these challenges, it creates a lot of stress and anxiety. So while we are practicing self-care and self-compassion, it ensures that we are moving towards a positive mental well-being. And especially for young people, it becomes very important to promote a healthy mental wellness. So now let us look at what we'll be covering in today's lecture. So in today's lecture, we'll be understanding what is self-compassion and its different elements. We'll look at what is self-care, what are the different types. Then we will look at what are the different ways in which we can build routines in our day-to-day life to reduce stress. We'll look at practical ways to manage stress through self-care practices and mindfulness or self-awareness. We'll look at how setting boundaries in self-care is important for your mental well-being, and also how to nurture positive self-talk and acceptance. So now let us understand what is self-compassion. So self-compassion comes from, just two words, that is self, that we call as oneself, and compassion. So the word compassion comes from two words from Latin. So com means with and passion means suffering. So self-compassion defines that, you are with yourself when you are going through a personal challenge. So anytime you are having a difficult time, how you are with yourself with kindness and compassion, the same way you would be for a person you love or a friend. So self-compassion is just compassion turns to yourself, so like a U-turn. So self-compassion was heavily researched by Dr. Christine Neff, and she defines self-compassion and also has identified three core elements of self-compassion. So let's look at that. So the three elements of self-compassion are self-kindness, then there is common humanity, and the third is mindfulness. So self-kindness, so if we have to define it, it is how we are with ourselves, with love, with care, with kindness during personal struggle. The same way we would be with other people. So caring for ourselves, that is what is self-kindness. The second element is common humanity. So common humanity is when you are going through a personal struggle and knowing that struggle is a part of being human. So in a way this promotes the fact that you are, just a human and you are not alone. So this in a way reduces the sense of loneliness. The third is mindfulness. So when we are defining mindfulness, we know that mindfulness is when you are being aware of your present moment, of your sensations, emotions, and your thought processes, not just you but also your surroundings. So mindfulness in self-compassion, it means that you are being aware of your difficult emotions, where you know that, okay, this is what I am feeling, and in a way, being aware of your difficult emotion helps us to, be in a balanced way and not exaggerate or suppress your emotions. So overall, these core three elements tells us how, practicing self-compassion can improve your overall well-being. So the good thing about self-compassion is that it is a learnable skill. So if you practice few practices, day-to-day life, you can, just be kind to yourself, and because it is learnable, it is a good thing. Because many times people think that it is, not possible for me to be kind to ourselves, especially when they are experiencing a lot of challenges. It looks like it is not at all possible. So in today's lecture, I just want to help you out with that, and let's look at how we can do it. So before that, let's look at some of the benefits of self-compassion. So somebody who is practicing self-compassion is more likely to be happy, to be optimistic in their life. They are to, experience a positive sense of self-worth, will be satisfied with their bodies, and also have higher levels of emotional intelligence. So they would be more forgiving and compassionate to other people, will take personal responsibility for anything that is happening in their life, and focus on learning and growth. Whereas practicing self-compassion is less likely to, make you experience sense of shame or self-loathing, where you'll be less likely to put your self-worth on social approval or have a negative body image. You'll be less likely to ruminate on negative thought processes or to develop mental health conditions like anxiety, depression, and so on. So now let us look at how we can integrate self-compassion in our day-to-day lives. The first is setting self-love reminders. So make it a habit that whenever you wake up in the morning, you just wake up and go to the mirror and you can, tell yourself that, let me be kind to myself today. Let me not be too harsh on myself. The second is where you can put some sticky notes or some kind of phone alerts, where every time you are opening your phone screen, you just get a wallpaper maybe or a notification that tells that, okay, do not be too difficult on yourself and take things slowly today. The second is common humanity breaks, where you are being aware that if you are having a difficult time or the work is too overloaded or stressful for you, just taking a break in between and just pausing for the while. And while you are doing that, telling yourself that, okay, this is a difficult experience for me, yes, but this is also being human, and let's not be too harsh on myself. The third is mindfulness pauses, where you can check in the middle of the day or anytime you want to, where you're taking some relaxation exercises, you are just pausing and taking some deep breath and just noticing what you're feeling in your body, any kind of sensation, be it like certain difficult emotion like stress, anxiety, and telling yourself to not be judgmental about it. So the next is using booster breaks. So maybe while you're working throughout the day, it's important that you take a break of 10 to 15 minutes between your work. And while you're doing that, maybe you can, just do a bit of stretching exercises or just mindful breathing or mindful walking. Now let us try to understand what is self-care. So WHO defines self-care as the ability of individuals, families, and communities to promote their own health, prevent disease, maintain health, and to cope with illness with or without the support of health or care worker. So young individuals experience so much of stress or workload throughout the day. It can be the personal struggle or kind of emotional burden or some kind of relationship problem, or even in their workload, difficulty to manage the work-life balance. So it's important that self-care is practiced in the day-to-day life to improve their overall well-being. So now let us look at how we can practice self-care to reduce stress in our day-to-day life. The first is professional self-care. So being aware of when your work is getting too much for you, where you are able to set a work-life balance, not pressurizing too much beyond your working hours to, just work, maybe setting time at the end of the day just to for your well-being or for leisure activities. The next is social self-care, where you are trying to be a part of a community, trying to be part of a group wherever you are, maybe in a hostel or in an institution, or if not, maybe in the community of your society. So in a way, this will promote sense of connectedness and improve positive well-being. The third is emotional self-care. So being aware of your emotions, daily check-ins to what you're feeling is very important. And once you're aware of what emotions you're feeling, it's important that you acknowledge them and express them in healthier ways. So while I'm talking about expressing them in healthier ways, maybe you could do some bit of journaling and just writing down what are the emotions you're feeling or anything that happened throughout the day. So just noting it down will help you to visualize that and just get a different perspective of that. And also you can do other ways of expression. So there are different ways of expressing yourself, maybe through art, dance, etc. The fourth is physical self-care. So when we are talking about physical self-care, it is about how and what you're feeding your body. So taking care of the nutritional levels, being aware of what you're eating through the day, then taking care of your sleep routine, sleeping at appropriate times, and also doing physical activity, doing exercises and regular body checkups to just be sure that you are healthy. So while we are taking care of self, setting up routines is very important. So how you spend your day, whether you are prioritizing, whether you are managing your time and the work, that also ensures how you will be mentally. So routine setting is important because it will help to reduce stress and anxiety. It will enhance predictability and control. So knowing what will come next will give a sense of grounding and control. Then it will also support healthy habits. It will improve your sleep quality and boost your overall well-being and emotional resilience. So while we are talking about routine, some of you may be having difficulty to understand, okay, when we are talking about routine, how do we set it? Because we are used to having a routine like, okay, I'll wake up at this time to that time I'll do maybe this, and just making slots. So let's look at how we can set routines in our daily life, because setting routines is not just about, what work you'll be doing, but also how you can incorporate things that will promote your overall well-being. So this is a sample daily routine. So what you can do is, maybe you can follow something like this, or you can also it's not just to practice in our day-to-day life, but also to suggest if you feel that a friend of yours is having difficulty. So while we are trying to set a sample or a daily routine, we can set it in and break it into daily task. So suppose in the morning, what you can do is making sure that you are practicing some bit of mindfulness exercise. So just setting 5 to 10 minutes in the morning to focus on your breath may be helpful. Then making it a routine that once you wake up, the first thing you'll do is make your bed and just hydrating yourself. So this will in a way also give you a sense of accomplishment. The third is, while you're having meals like breakfast, lunch or dinner, making sure that you're having nutritious meals. So that is a routine that you set for yourself, that okay, even if maybe lunch or dinner may not be possible, at least like to have a healthy meal, at least breakfast is something that I will make sure that I have a proper meal, especially if you're staying in hostel. Then midday, it's written here physical activity. So physical activity is something that you can incorporate maybe in the early morning or even in the evening, or whenever you're taking breaks in between your work. So what you can do is setting 20 to 30 minutes a day just to exercise. It can be rigorous exercise or just relaxation like stretching exercises. Then you can take breaks in between your work, like compassion booster break, maybe doing some journal entry as well. Followed by that, as evening comes, it is important that you wind down a little bit. Maybe you can engage in something like a leisure activity, doing something that you love. So while you're doing that, it also ensures that you're having a work-life balance. So making that boundary aside. So as night comes, just winding down more and, just getting ready for bedtime. So while we are talking about getting ready for the bedtime, it is important that, you also take care of your exposure to digital technologies. So while we are taking care of that, maybe having a routine where you tell yourself that, okay, after my dinner, or at least before bed, 30 minutes before, I will not touch my phone or any kind of digital technologies. So ensuring that you have certain routines in a day will make you feel positive and also motivated to wake up for the next day and to go through the entire day. So self-care is not just about indulgences, just giving yourself positive things, but also about how you set boundaries in your life. So when we are talking about setting boundaries, it can be setting boundaries with your own self, setting boundaries with other people, or emotionally, or even digitally. So let's look at that. So boundaries can be of different types, as I said. So physical boundary is where you are setting limits on your space, on your personal time. Then establishing a quiet zone at home. So if you know that there are many people at home, so making sure that you have a quiet place where nobody is going to disturb you, and that is your boundary. The second is emotional boundary, where you are regulating how much of emotional labor you will invest, and especially it's important when you are in a helping role. The third is digital boundary, where you are setting boundaries with yourself, engaging in screen downtimes, not engaging in digital technology while you are doing something important, or maybe you are having your meal, or even you are winding up for the day. So few effective strategies for boundary setting is knowing to say no strategically. So knowing what is your capacity and refusing when you feel that it is getting overloaded with work. Then scheduling breaks. So if you feel that your work is getting too much for you, or not necessarily, but it's important that you take breaks between your work. So one important way of doing that is setting the Pomodoro technique, where you're having slots of study breaks or work breaks, and while you're taking the break after maybe 20 to 25 minutes, so the 20 to 25 minutes you will be focusing on your work effectively, and maybe a 5-minute break after that. So while you're taking that break, making sure that you're not engaging in too much conversation with other people or with social media, just relaxing, winding down. The third is delegation. So if you feel that the work you are doing is something that does not need your expertise and it can be done in a group setting, uh, learn to just distribute the work, because many a times it is seen that young people, when they are studying or even starting to work, they will be doing some group activity where in a group there will be few people who are working too hard and few people who are not at all working. So it's important that you are being assertive that okay, if you're a part of a group, everyone has to do the work equally. So delegating the task assertively is very important. So now let us look at mindfulness and how it is important in self-care. So as I had described in my previous slide, that mindfulness is more about being aware of your present moment, of your emotions and surroundings. So mindfulness in self-care means that you are being aware when you're having a difficult emotion, to be able to pause and reflect. So what it does is that when we are practicing mindfulness while we are taking care of ourselves, it helps us to identify when things are getting beyond control. And as a result, you are being able to pause and just take care of that and not let things go haywire. So when we are talking about mindfulness, there are 3 techniques that I'll be introducing today. So how you can practice mindfulness in your day-to-day life. So the first is body scan meditation. So body scan meditation is a guided sequential attention to different areas of your body. It can start from your toes, moving upwards to your head. So let us look at how we can practice body scan meditation. So while we are trying to practice body scan meditation, it is very important that you are seated in a comfortable posture, and you can even lie down or sit on your bed and close your eyes. So after closing your eyes, what you do is take some deep breaths, slowly breathing in and then breathing out. Followed by that, start noticing different areas of your body. So as I said that you'll start by focusing on your toes. So focus on your toes and see what is the sensation in that area. Is there any tightness, any negative, just sensations that are coming? And just observe it non-judgmentally. So once you are done with that, move on to different body part, maybe your calf muscle, your thighs, and gently moving upwards. So practicing body scan meditation is very important because it just helps with a lot of things. So it will increase your interoceptive awareness, where you are being able to just sense your internal body cues. Then it will also promote a sense of calmness and relaxation, and overall signs of stress can be identified initially by focusing on your muscle groups. The next is mindful breathing. So while we are talking about breathing, so breathing is something that we are doing non-stop, right? So automatically it is happening. So while we are talking about mindful breathing, so in self-care, mindful breathing acts as an anchor. So as an anchor to help you to come back to the present moment. So when we are distracted, we are going through a challenging time, our mind is ruminating, we are thinking about all the possible negative things. So mindful breathing is something that you can do at that point, which will immediately help you to come back to the present. So how we can do mindful breathing is, again, like sitting in a comfortable posture where you are just making your spine comfortable, not stressing it out. Then closing your eyes if you feel comfortable. Then make sure that the room is not that noisy, and just you can even lie down or sit on a chair comfortably. Then slowly focus on your breath. Focus on how the breath is going in, inside you, how it is coming out. Then notice any sensations that you're feeling throughout your body. Maybe focus on your throat, focus on your chest and abdomen, just being aware of the breath. And in case you feel that your mind is wandering again, just just be aware of that non-judgmentally and come back again to what you were doing, that is focusing on your breath. So practicing this exercise, mindful breathing, on a day-to-day basis, at least for 5 to 10 minutes, is very important, and it comes with a lot of benefits. So as I said, that the first benefit is it anchors you to the present moment. That is one thing. Second is that it helps you to deal with stress, anxiety, depression, and also it promotes an overall sense of well-being and improves your mental wellness and physical wellness. The third is mindful walking. So mindful walking means that you are being aware of what is going on in you and the surroundings. So it involves walking where you are walking intentionally. So how we practice this is that you can choose a route of your choice which is safe, maybe without possible distractions, and just stand in the place before you begin walking. So while you are standing, just take few deep breaths and slowly notice sensations around you and within you. While doing that, maybe start walking slowly. And as you're putting the foot on the ground, notice how your body is feeling, how the foot is feeling in the ground. And do it intentionally while also being aware of the surrounding. So maybe slowly you start opening up your senses, focus on how things are visually uh, visible around you, what you can see around you, what you can smell or hear around you. And in case your mind is going to some, the past or the future, you just non-judgmentally be aware of that and just come back. Maybe you can even practice some deep breathing while you are doing that exercise. So practicing walking meditation, it combines movement with mindfulness. So in a way, it will promote your mental clarity and stress relief. It will also improve blood flow, sleep quality, and improve your overall mood, because there is movement happening, there is exercise also happening, so it is important. Then the next is nurturing positive self-talk and acceptance. So while we are taking care of our own self, it's important how we are talking to ourselves. What are the inner dialogues that we are having? That is very important. So while we are practicing self-talk, maybe you could just sit with yourself in a place where there is no one, and you could just talk to yourself by telling that, okay, I am worthy, or life is difficult, but again this is being human. So some kind of internal affirmations also will help you at that point. Then acceptance is also important. So embracing emotions, how you're feeling, rather than fighting them, will also make a way for deep healing and reducing your overall distress. So till now we discussed about self-care, self-compassion, different elements and different ways of practicing that. We looked at how we can take care of our health. We can also set boundaries for ourselves. So I just wanted to discuss a case with you that will help you understand how struggles can be actually visible in somebody's life, and how practicing self-care and self-compassion can help them out of that. So Ananya is a 16-year-old student from Bangalore who was very overwhelmed by anxiety and depression after breaking up with her first serious boyfriend. So she started blaming herself by telling that, I ruined everything. And she suffered sleepless nights, lost interest in studies and social life, and reported persistent self-criticism. And also, these are classic signs of low self-compassion linked to emotional distress in teens. So in counseling sessions, in therapy, what she did is that slowly she started practicing daily self-care rituals like morning affirmations, telling herself that, I deserve peace and kindness. And she started taking midday mindfulness breaths and weekly common humanity breaks. And these are reminders that breakups can hurt most people and not just her. So, telling herself these statements helped her to deal with her present emotions. Within 4 weeks, Ananya showed notable improvements. Her self talk grew gentler, sleep patterns stabilized, and she tentatively reconnected with her friends. After 3 months, her anxiety and depressive symptoms had significantly reduced, mirroring outcomes from compassion focused therapy studies, which shows that around 65 to 72% of people recover in depression and rumination post breakup. So, practicing self compassion helps. Over time, Ananya described feeling lighter and more resilient, and she was ready to embrace her academics, friendships, and life in general. So, with this, I come to the end of the lecture, but before that, let's summarize what we understood today. So, today we looked at what is self compassion, how it is important that you are kind to yourself in difficult times. Then we looked at three different elements of self compassion and how you can incorporate them in your day to day life. We try to understand what is self care, and how you can practice it. You can, where you are intentionally showing yourself support in terms of emotional, physical, mental, and spiritual health. Then we talked about including scheduled downtimes and healthy routines. We looked at how we can set boundaries in our life to prevent burnout and to support our well being. We looked at what is mindfulness techniques. We specifically looked at body scan meditation. We looked at mindfulness breathing and walking, and also how positive self talk and acceptance can improve the well being. And we ended with a case study where we looked at a real life example, in a way, how self care and self compassion can help somebody's and help someone to a point where they can even come out from anxiety or depression. So, with this, we come to the end of our lecture today. Thank you, and see you in the next lecture.